You've seen a lot of changes. I mean, back when you were selling shutters, that was, people weren't really, what was there even impact windows at that point?
So I mean, back in that era, it was definitely mandated so people could get their insurance. But
Right.
what you would find is these homes that need to meet that code for new construction homes. Builders were putting the most economical thing that they could, which was these hurricane not even like accordions, but panels.
Right.
I knew off from the beginning when I started ASP, I knew shutters wasn't going to be the thing. I felt deep down inside, I'm like, impact windows and doors is the future, and it's what's going to be much better.
Welcome, everyone, to today's podcast episode. You're listening to the Home Design Podcast. My name is Adam Kayce, your host, and we aim to educate, inspire, and connect South Florida with the industry authorities within their trade. In today's podcast episode, we're going to be talking about an inspiring story for how one of Florida's elite roofing and window companies was built. And then we're going to be diving into everything that you should know when hiring a window contractor, all with Jonathan Rodriguez, CEO of ASP Superhome. What's up?
What's up, Adam, man? Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. It's awesome having you. I mean, I've known you for, 15 years, I feel like, more or less.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easier.
I mean, it's been incredible seeing where you started, how you started, where you are today, where you're going. I mean, who really knows where anyone's going, but you have a clear path. But before we dive into your business and the window industry and the roofing industry and doors and everything that homeowners as well as the industry should know, I want to ask you the most challenging question of the day.
Uh-oh.
Who is Jonathan Rodriguez?
Jonathan Rodriguez, CEO of ASP Superhome, born and raised in Miami-Dade. Came from, my parents came from Cuba. So, started a business from the ground up, and be glad to share some of the stories to express and show, why we're here and what we're doing.
Without a doubt. And when did it all start? Like, when did you realize that home protection, hurricane protection really mattered?
I was 7 years old when Hurricane Andrew hit. I remember going with my dad to Home Depot.
Right.
He went out there to buy plywood, and when we came back home, the first thing he did before he put the plywood, he put that duct tape, put an X on the windows. Yep. And then I just saw him a couple of days sweating, working, putting up plywood, and then we experienced Hurricane Andrew, in complete darkness.
Right. And I wasn't down here at that point. I remember seeing it on the news, seeing devastation on the news, but that was like a turning point in your life that you saw true devastation and what a storm could do to a community, to homes, to individuals, to their livelihood, everything. But for you, it inspired you and it stayed with you, where, what you're doing today is to make sure that, people have everything they need to be able to sustain elements like that.
I definitely think it hit the subconscious. I was 7, so I didn't really understand business and economy, but I do remember walking outside after the storm and seeing the complete devastation in the neighborhood. Having to go pick up, help my dad put branches and trees and whatever we could in his truck to help clean up the neighborhood. So absolutely. That always stuck in me. Yeah,
those things stick with you. And when you obviously going through your early life, into high school, out of high school, at what point did you first step into the industry itself?
So I was about 19 years old and got offered a gig to sell hurricane shutters at that point in time. It was right before Hurricane Wilma and Katrina. So for the most part, I was doing well as a sales rep, but as soon as Hurricane Katrina and Wilma came through, it was just huge demand, high demand, and started, selling shutters for about 2 years.
Okay.
And, go ahead.
No, keep going. Because I know that, these early stories and what you have gone through has propelled you into today. So this is what really inspires people, because there's a lot of people out there that are early in their careers, they're late in their careers, finding purpose, finding passion, but every single good or bad is a learning point, and
Definitely.
I know that you've had some of those.
Oh yeah, I was selling hurricane shutters, and everything was going so well after Katrina and Wilma that I got offered a business opportunity to join that company as far as like a manufacturing business side of it. Long story short, I pretty much got burned, and it was my first, I would say, real hard learning lesson. But honestly, I'm grateful for it because that happened. I pushed myself to get my general contractor's license and start ASP and venture off on my own.
How old were you when ASP first came to life?
21. 2006.
At that point, we're learning a lot about ourselves, never mind business and everything else.
Definitely.
So when you first started ASP, and at that point it was American Storm Protection. So American Storm Protection, and that was, when you first stepped into the home shows, what I knew you as, and obviously the evolution has brought today as ASP Superhome. But when you started, things were not just easy. It wasn't like you opened up a business and all of a sudden you just had business flowing to you.
Oh yeah, man. It was trying times. We had great vision, great dreams, and even though we thought that, hey, this is going to be easy, because I was good at what I did, and I figured I could do it on my own. But it was a big struggle. To get into the home show with you. I never told you the story, but I actually took my pickup truck, took it to CarMax, and I was able to earn $14,000 off the truck, and I used all that money to get into the home show for the first time. It was like 2009, 2010.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you sacrificed your business, your personal everything, and you saw that as like your first step to say, listen, like what that's a mental hurdle. Like what were you deciding between when you were going back and forth in that? Because I didn't realize, that type of sacrifice, you put it all on the line.
Put it all on the line. At that age, I guess I had a lot of, aspirations and vision and just faith. So we put everything on the line. Truth to be told, Adam, we went easily 7 years where me, my wife, my mom, and my dad, we went without paying each other.
Right.
To be able to keep the business going. It even got to a point where we had to kind of make a decision whether we were going to continue paying for our mortgage or close on the business.
Right.
And, we kind of had to have that meeting, and we made that decision where, let's keep this business going. We feel like this is going to be a good thing for us in the future. And luckily we stuck to that plan. And
that's crazy. This is like one of those things, like you hear stories out there as far as how people made it, working out of their garage, burning the candle on both ends, putting everything in their life into what their mission was and having those hard conversations, because it's easy to give up.
Oh yeah.
That's the easiest part of life, giving up, walking away, but you guys chose the most challenging route.
Oh yeah. We never forget that moment. We had to, come together as a family. We were sitting at the dining table, and we're like, what are we going to do? Are we going to close up shop and everybody go out and get a job? Or are we going to, so we could be able to pay the mortgage? Or do we stop paying the mortgage and, write it out as long as we could to continue the business? And my mom was like, well, son, where are we going to live? Under a bridge? And I was like, well, Mom, if we live under a bridge, the most important thing is that we're going to be together. Right. And then she was like, okay, let's go.
Family all in, you're all in. I've known you and Yesenia since 2010, since I first met you guys, when you guys first stepped into the home show. I remember back when I first met you, you would have not known that you put everything on the line selling your truck to get into that first show. You wore it or you didn't wear it.
For sure.
But I can't imagine what was burning you inside. And that's incredible. And then, from that point on, you have never missed a show. You have been, you've been one of those stories that I tell people in the sense of like, you started with us and you've never wavered. You've never stepped back. You've only scaled up. You've only pushed it to the next level. On every single point of your journey, you've always had a beautiful booth, but then you come up with these crazy ideas and now you're building a house in the show. It's crazy. It's amazing, but that's what makes the show so special. And that's what it makes me so passionate about what I do, because I'm able to work with people like you, and I'd be able to see transition. I'm able to see evolution in brands and families grow. I mean, your son's here today. You know, I've known him since, you know, I mean, as little as can be. And, and that's what makes everything amazing. But when we're talking about your business, you know, you've seen a lot of changes. I mean, back when you were selling shutters, that was, you know, people weren't really, what was there even impact windows at that point? At what point did they really start picking up in the sense of it being a mandated installation for every new home, and also like the insurance benefits and things like that?
So I mean, back in that era, it was definitely mandated so people could get their insurance. But what you would find is these homes that at that point that need to meet that code for new construction homes, you know, builders were putting the most economical thing that they could, which was, you know, these hurricane, not even like accordions, but panels,
right? And
not even aluminum, but steel. So you got to deal with steel panels even on a second floor. And I knew off from the beginning when I started ASP, that's why I'm like, I went for my general contractor's license, because I knew shutters wasn't going to be the thing. I felt deep down inside, I'm like, impact windows and doors is the future, and it's what's going to be much better.
Absolutely. And there's a lot that goes into this, because when you look at the construction of these materials, the testing that it goes through, everything that, you know, goes into every window and door that you guys install in a home, I want to go over like what truly makes an impact window or an impact door. You know, what makes it qualify as something that can truly protect a home?
I mean, it goes to the strict Dade County protocols, right? So there's a test lab for that test for simulating basically hurricane storms, Category 5. They shoot 2x4s at the center, at the four corners. After they do the shooting of the 2x4, they simulate hurricane winds, where they do the cycle testing, positive pressure, because during the hurricanes, you know, you have that pressure pushing inwards, and then you're gonna have that negative pressure, which is pulling out. And it's very strict. After it does all of that, the windows and doors still have to operate. So yeah, that's pretty much that's the important part as far as like it's called HVAC, high velocity hurricane zone. But there are different product lines, right? So there's different qualities, different, you know, standards, and so it's definitely different levels.
And because they all, to be able to have it qualified as Miami-Dade approved, you know, they're like you said, there's all different, you know, qualities of the product. But what are the differentiating factors as far as what makes one product better than another? As far as, is it the construction, the surround, is it the glass, is it, you know, what are those different qualities that makes one truly better than another? Because this is a misconception or a misunderstanding that just because it's an impact window doesn't mean that it's as good as the rest, just like any product.
Definitely. You're going to have different manufacturers that just test bare minimum. So meaning the thinnest aluminum they could put into the window, the thinnest glass, which is like 5/16. But then you have manufacturers that maybe are more prideful and actually want to give something more. And you could tell the difference, you could feel the difference. And that's when they put more into the construction of the aluminum, much thicker gauges on aluminum, and thicker glass. You know, you have 7/16s, and now we're coming up with 9/16s. A lot of manufacturers are starting to upgrade to that.
Absolutely. And I feel like at that point, you know, you're either selling a product or you're taking pride in what you're doing to really offer that ultimate level of protection. And there's a price point for everything also. It's a matter of matching a budget, reverse engineering a budget or a relative budget into what somebody can put into their home, and them understanding the benefits and understanding the different qualities, because there's a lot of different factors that goes into it, from energy efficiency, you know, the different tints, the different looks, the different styles, you know, everything that goes into what can be, and the different types of glazings of the glass and everything. But something that people need to understand is just because it's impact window does not mean it won't crack, but it won't, I guess, break through, because if you have the negative and positive pressures, you still need that solid surface, and it will fluctuate, but everything inside your home will not be destroyed and be in a wind tunnel.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point of it. The glass, it's laminated, so it's two pieces of glass with a laminate in the center, and that's holding the impact and holding the wind pressure afterwards. So it's going to protect your home.
Without a doubt. And talking about those different qualities, we talked about the glass thickness, but going into things that that a homeowner should truly identify with. You know, if somebody's going into the process, they're looking to have new impact windows and doors. Is there terminology that they should know? Like, is it as far as like, you know, you're talking about the different gauges of metal, of aluminum and things like that. What should they know as far as like a barrier, as far as when it's worth it to do it and when, it's really not? Like when at what point should they spend the little bit extra to be able to get that higher level that they'll truly be happy with?
So if the home is their dream home, or just a home they plan to be there for several years, I mean, whatever the case is, in those situations, they may want to, put a little bit more and have a product that they're going to be happier with, a product that maybe is going to give them better sound reduction, better heat reduction. But if, sometimes you have, homeowners that I'm only going to be here for like another year and I want to flip it. And, at that point, maybe consider going with the most economical option. The one thing I do always highly recommend, and one thing that we do that most of our clients do, is that they come to our showroom.
Right.
When you're able to see these different options, and because I could tell you gauges, I could tell you thicknesses, but at the end, I mean, what is that, does the homeowner really understand those things?
Right.
But when I could explain it, but you could see it, you could actually carry, samples and test, close the door, close the window, feel how it, like the suction of how when it's closed, that wow, like versus a very simple, where you could feel it's still a little loose, or you knock on the aluminum. Sometimes you can just knock on the aluminum and you hear it hollow. Sometimes you can knock on it and it feels like you're hitting a wall.
So you can feel the quality.
That's it.
And there's a lot, actually, there's not many window companies that actually have showrooms. Like, so you never really, in most cases, people don't even know the difference until it's installed. Unless they go to a showroom like yours. As far as, correct. I mean, and your showroom is absolutely spectacular. I don't think I've ever seen a showroom like that. Even I've been in manufacturer showrooms where they don't have as much as far as what you do. I mean, you have everything from the big pivot doors, you have the bifolds, you have the sliding doors, and the other thing that people need to really consider is when you look at a window, there's a lot of different mechanisms, how it opens, single hung, if it's sliding, let's go over and just briefly talk about the different types of mechanisms and types of openings, so that way people even know what the options are.
Right, so you have your single hung that goes up and down. It usually has a latch at the center. Sometimes it could bring an extra lock at the bottom. It's called an egress lock. Some manufacturers like to put both of them on it, just extra security. Not necessary, but extra security. Same thing with a slider. It has a lock at the center. Could have a latch at the end. Okay. Casements are probably the most, I would say, like has the most locking behind it. So maybe the most secure, because it's a casement that opens out like a door. Okay. Picture a door, but when it comes in, when you actually lock it, it's like 3 hinges and possibly like 4 parts where it like locks in.
And that's like, I'm picturing a door, how you have the pins that go up and down into the side.
For sure. I was going to get into the French doors, the pivot doors. We have that multi-point option now where you basically lock it at the center, and it's when you lock it at the center, it's already triggering the top and the bottom. You remember the old school style where you have to like manually you got to
push the pin. Yeah, exactly.
At the bottom. You could still have that as an option, or you could bypass that and have a multi-point lock, and it's going to give you that feature.
Are most manufacturers creating doors like that now, or is it specific to certain ones?
So most have options like that already at this point. What most don't have is the pivot door.
Right.
That's becoming a lot more popular now, because imagine a double door that you have at your home that's 72 inches. I can make one huge leaf that just makes a huge statement for your home.
And those are the things that people are seeing all over, like online, and you bring it to the home show, you bring in all these different cool and different options that people are not used to seeing, because the only way that really most people are going to experience something and see how it works and how it opens, I mean, it's impressive. Like if you want to make a statement when somebody walks through your door, that's definitely like probably the best way to do it. And how tall can they build them? Like what is code as far as approved or tested sizes?
I mean, they're already approved 10 feet. I wouldn't doubt that somebody already has it at 12 feet.
Right.
These are already like, it's a gigantic home, beautiful custom home somewhere, who knows, right? Miami Beach on the water. But even that, typical, even I'm doing it on, regular homes sometimes. 8 foot tall is basically where you're going to find it the most.
And it makes a huge impact.
Huge. I have one in our showroom. That's like our entry,
right?
And never fails. As soon as the customer walks in through that door, they're like, "Wow,
it's incredible!" I've been there. No, it's incredible, and that's the thing. And then they start thinking, and then they start thinking about the possibilities, because you guys have invested in your brand 100,000 times over. Like you are just constantly reinvesting in what you're doing. But the experience that you're able to deliver in the showroom is, people walk out of there without having any doubt or concern that they haven't seen enough.
Definitely. I mean, the way that the mindset I had behind the showroom and having the way we have it is, if you're going to go, see a product, you have to, let's say you have to go for my showroom. I have 5 different manufacturers there for you to see, and everything. They're every type of window, every type of door that they have. For you to be able to accomplish that, you have to go to 5 different possible locations to see these products. So that was the concept behind coming to our showroom, is that you can already see all the differences from all the different manufacturers.
And that's the biggest thing, because for homeowners especially, because you guys work with contractors, you work with builders, you work with designers, all different types of people of the trade, where you would like to believe that they have seen most of it or understand it. And, you know, I'm sure you're surprised every single day when you're working with somebody and they don't know what you're talking about. But when it comes to homeowners especially, it's an overwhelming process. Anything that has to do with home design, home improvement, you know, they don't know where to start. And to your point, and why I love the home show, is because you get to see everything under one roof.
100%.
But when it comes to windows, doors, roofing, you're brand agnostic. Like, you're not just tied to one brand, because there's a brand for everyone. There's a product for everyone. You know, something that might fit one home might not be the best for the other. And you see a lot of these window and door companies out there where they only push one brand. They sell one brand. They only show one brand. That's what they do. They put all their eggs in one basket, which is fine. But understanding, and I feel like manufacturers also understand that they have a niche within the industry that their product is perfect for. You know, so I want to talk about that in the sense of how you approach the manufacturer side. And you have amazing partnerships with so many different great brands of all different levels.
Correct. So, you know, Adam, I mean, I want to be straightforward and honest here. Like, when it comes to manufacturers, it's almost like stocks,
right?
Like one moment that one manufacturer is doing phenomenal, they're sticking to their timeline. They're telling you, hey, 6 to 8 weeks, and they're sticking to it, and you're getting it, and you're getting good product, you're getting good quality on the workmanship, right? And then, you know, 3 months later, your 6 to 8 weeks now became like 12 weeks, 14 weeks. And then they're not answering the phone calls anymore as much as they used to. So it's kind of, we have to be smart about that, because we want to deliver excellence to our customer.
Right.
And we need the manufacturer's backup. So we take that into consideration, and then we definitely take into consideration what fits best for the home, and what the customer really wants, what they want to accomplish. Do they want to have something more elegant? Do they want to have that stronger glass? Yeah, sure. Like, glass is going to protect whether it's impact rated or not, but how much do you want it to withstand?
Right.
And also, people also purchase windows and doors for that theft protection, right?
100%. And the thing is, like, when somebody's working with a contractor, there's more behind the conversation. It's not just, this is the best door. To your point, there could be manufacturing problems or slowdowns, or they're not getting material in, so they can't turn the product in. There's so many factors that can affect every single business, which happens in business. But you are truly looking out for the customer for them to be able to get what they want and what they need in a timely manner, in a budget that makes sense for them. So that way you're not tied down to just one manufacturer. And also, these different manufacturers, they have different mechanisms that they truly excel in. You know, some of them, you know, when it comes to pivot doors, I mean, we see that amazing bifold door that you guys bring in every home show. You know, there's all different types of products, but I want to talk about that because, you know, some products, they do what they do and they do it well. And they'll admit, like, you know, we're not getting into pivot doors or whatever the product might be. And there's an opportunity for everyone. But when going into, you know, product selection, where should a homeowner start? Like, what should their first question be? Because all they know is impact doors or impact windows. You know, where should they start as far as when they step foot into a showroom? Like, or what's your process? Like, what are your people asking them?
I mean, probably one of the first questions is, how much longer do you plan to be on this home?
Okay.
Maybe how long have you been wanting to get windows and doors done? And then we get into quality preference. You know, with 5/16, 7/16s, we start showing them the extrusions. We're showing them, like I explained to you, about the hollowness of aluminum sometimes. Right. And we kind of try to get into a budget, figure out what's their budget before we can make a true recommendation.
And then what do they say when they're talking about budget? And they say, I see this guy on TV giving me a free window when I buy a free window. I mean, is that a real deal, or is there something behind the lines on that? You know, because there's a lot, everyone's putting out offers, and, you know, it's kind of like clickbait, but, you know, I'm sure there's truth behind it. But, when shopping for it, there's a lot of companies out there. There's a lot of great companies out there. There's a lot of red flags out there. But going into that approach, I'm sure this comes up all the time when you're quoting out a project and they say, oh, Joe's Window Company, or I recently saw Tricky Dickie's out there, and he's giving all right. Saw your newest commercial, and I want to talk about that because people need to understand there's always something behind the deal. So what light can you bring to something like that?
So we've been seeing for years now, and when I talk to my marketing team, they're like, hey, Jonathan, you have to do a promotion like this. This is what's working. And it's like promotions like, hey, we're offering buy one, get one free if you purchase before the end of June, or free installation. And I'm like, man, I just can't do that. Like, I can't just deceive people like that because I know it's not true.
Right.
And those companies, believe it or not, by the time they do their proposal and I do my proposal, if we go up against each other, chances are my prices are still better than theirs, right?
Really?
Because they're starting off real high and they're breaking down, giving all these discounts, right? These gimmick discounts. And at the end, man, why just be honest and upfront from the beginning?
Right. Because there's a cost for everything. And the reality is they're not just giving you something for free. They're factoring it in somewhere else, I assume. Because actually I saw it the other night and I was laughing. My wife looked at me like, what are you laughing at? I'm like, you got to see this commercial. Like, can you just play it out just so that way when everyone sees it, they'll know it?
For sure. I mean, you got this guy and he's, basically making that offer, right? That offer that you see, whether you see it on social media, maybe you see it on an ad where it's like, buy one, get one free. The guy's like, call me now, buy one, get one free. I'll give you free installation. I'll give you 50% off. And then, I go in there and I'm like, man, you guys tired of hearing this? And I walk over there, and I give him a little slap in the face and, to give my pitch about getting honesty and integrity from this advertisement till the job is finished.
Absolutely. And I saw you, Sandy, came right into that.
And my wife gives my wife gives him another slap too. And, just thinking outside the box and just trying to, I guess, let the community be more aware.
Yeah.
Because if you've never bought windows and doors before, you've never, and this is the first thing you see, and you see a company, you see, oh, buy one, get one free. And then I was like, oh man, I should call this company and see and take advantage of this.
That's a good deal, right?
Take advantage of this deal. Honey, we could get buy one, get one free if we order before the end of June.
Right.
The company comes in, gives their, their bogus offer, and you feel like you're getting a good deal, but that's when you should not make a decision at that point. I'm not saying it's a terrible offer, but like a recommendation, right? Yeah. 2 to 3 quotes. I'm an advocate of that. That should be the way to be. So you make sure you're not getting, taken advantage of.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, because, it doesn't mean that they're not a great company. It's a gimmicky type of promotion. But at the end of the day, like, you have to be comfortable with who you're working with. People do business with people. It's who's going to be in your home. You're going to have a relationship with the homeowner, as the homeowner is going to have a relationship with you. So they should be comfortable with who's going to be in their home. What standards do they have? What is the company doing behind the scenes to assure a smooth process? Because it's not just giving a deposit and all of a sudden everything is going to start, going into motion. There's a lot of steps from, confirming the size windows to, making the order, going into permitting, coming out of permitting, having the installation lined up, let's talk about that part, because that's the part that people don't even think about until after they sign the contract.
No, definitely, Adam. It's a lot of steps to do a good job from beginning to end for the customer. I mean, you nailed it with the permitting process. The field, we do what we call as a project assessment, where we do the final production measurements, get into detail on everything with the homeowner. I mean, which way they want the windows to open, like line item by line item, the doors, the hinges, what color hardware, what style of like the whole 9 yards.
Right.
And super detailed, because the last thing we want is to show up to your house and not come with the right product.
Right.
Then you also have customer service, like communication. The last thing you want is you give it a big deposit and you're 2, 3, 4 months in the dark. You never hear from the company again unless you call them.
Right.
So we really try to touch our customers once a month, minimum. And then as we get closer to the installation, we have a customer service team that's calling you every day while we're at your home. Hey, Adam, how's it going? How the guys doing? Any questions, any concerns? On top of supervisors that are patrolling the areas and stopping at every job site.
Yeah.
Again, just making sure that we give the best experience for the customer. Because to us, we're not just providing windows and doors. We are about providing a great experience for our customers.
Absolutely. Because people might do this one time in their whole life. If they're in a home, how often are they changing their windows and doors? Like, they're going through this experience on a minimal level. So they have to trust your guidance. And like, as you're going through this, like a homeowner that's getting windows and doors, they're not thinking about how a window is going to open, you know, what colors the hinges, what colors the handle, like all of these different things, where they need to be able to trust and rely on the professional that they're working with to bring awareness to everything. Not just sell them a window, sell them a door. You know, there's an aesthetic to it. There's a functionality to it. Like if you have a window opening up and you're on the side of a house and it's opening up one way and it just doesn't make sense, or if there's a wall on the other side and you're just opening up to the wall and then the windows, you know, opening up the wrong direction. I mean, there's so many different variables, and, you know, a professional that is offering a service has to understand what it will be like once they install it, because the homeowner really has no idea. Definitely.
I mean, when I say detailed, you know, super detailed. And the process that we take to protect your home while we're working in the home, I mean, I've had customers read some of our reviews. They say that we left the house cleaner than when we got there, you know?
And that's a big part, because there's a lot of dust. There's, you know, there's a lot that goes into construction. And if anyone's that ever has done a remodel and lived through it, it's not always pleasant. But how, like, what steps do you guys take to assure that the interior, you know, stays clean? Like, are you guys putting up plastic and, you know, marking off areas or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, we're putting up plastic. We're, you know, putting, you know, protection on the ground floor. I mean, we go to the extreme of the exterior. When we're outside working and we're cutting wood outside, we set up a stage. We set up, you know, covers on the floor. We have a tent just for the guys that are, you know, working under the
You're
heat.
reminding me like Dexter or something.
There you go. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, protecting people's, even their, you know, their grass, their driveway. Yeah. But the biggest thing, Adam, I mean, we try to explain and educate our homeowners, like, we can tell you that we're going to do all these great things, but how do you know that 3-4 months down the line, we actually do those things? Right. And we actually show them like our protocol, and I show them live all the projects that are going on at this moment, every single installer that's working on a job, and you'll see the standard. Every single project that we're working on right now at this moment, everybody's, you know, covering up the house how we're saying that we're going to cover the house. We're replacing all the bucks like we say we're going to replace all the bucks. We're waterproofing how we say we're going to waterproof. So that right there is where we give customer that reassurance that I'm not just telling you this just so you can sign with me, and paint this beautiful picture, and then whatever happens later happens.
Right. Because, I mean, there's a lot of, well, first of all, there's red flags that people should know of. So let's touch on, are there a few red flags that people should know when they are hiring a contractor?
Let's do it, man. You know, a lot of companies, and again, we're not the only great company out there. And
there's a lot of great ones. Yeah.
And you know, I'm all about, you know, there's plenty of work for everyone. So, but I am also aware, I hear a lot of customers, like firsthand, like stuff that they've gone through. I've had several customers that they gave deposits and the companies disappeared, and we had to come in and we had to take care of the job. So part of that is maybe looking at how long they've been in business, and it's not just like where do you go. So we educate our customer, and
everyone deserves a start. You know, 100%. Everyone started somewhere. So there's fundamental core principles that should shine through if they are a new company.
100%, but be honest, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Because when I started, I wasn't like, hey, I've been in business. No, I mean, I was 21.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I couldn't really like lie about that, right? So, but let's just be honest. You know what I mean? Right. And fight the good fight the way, you know, honorably is what we'd hope for.
Right.
But sunbiz.org is what we tell our customers, man. Go to sunbiz.org and you could check that company out, and then that's where you're going to see the truth.
Absolutely. And going through these different stories, and you see these hard stories, and the whole point of bringing these out to light is for people to be aware of what can happen. You know, I'm sure you get people that come to you and they get a quote from you. Maybe they end up going with somebody else. Maybe it was a price thing, whatever the situation may be. Maybe you were telling them the product's going to be X amount of time and there's nothing they can do. I mean, COVID was crazy with aluminum and everything coming in. And then maybe another company said, oh, I can get it to you right away or within this time frame, and they go. You know, what are some of those stories that you guys have had to dig people out from as far as their experiences and how you had to rectify the issue?
Yeah, on several occasions, customers call in, and I feel like most companies, once they hear somebody on the phone saying, oh, yeah, I had my windows installed, but I need you to take a look at it because they didn't do a good job. And I'm sure most companies probably won't, you know, see what's going on. But I've let my team know, hey, whenever in those type of situations, let me know what's going on, and let me see if I could go and see what's happening. So, several occasions, like one stands out where this one company that offered a lifetime warranty couldn't pass inspection on the job.
Really?
Like I had leaks like up the wazoo, and he just gave up, came to us, and I'm like, man, look, this is not what we do typically, like uninstall somebody's work and fix somebody's work. But man, when you see somebody going through that much pain, I mean, he was fighting them for over a year.
Wow.
And man, we stepped in, we took care of it. We got him frames for free from the manufacturer. We kind of stepped in with the manufacturer, told him what was going on, and the manufacturer, participated. But on this last one, I mean, this lady actually went with another company. And
initially contacted you? Were you like one of the quotes? Or
hadn't contacted me yet.
Okay.
She contacted me after this happened to her. Which what happened to her was, this is somebody that was recommended. She went ahead and the company was like, hey, listen, the materials are ready. Do me a solid. Could you pay? Can you just pay me the balance? And we're gonna get started tomorrow. We're gonna get your job done. And her, from confidence, especially the guy came recommended.
Right.
She paid the guy full, and then the following day they showed up with the windows. Thank God for that. But they just put it in the backyard and then gone.
Wow.
It stopped answering the phone, like disappeared off the map. She calls me then back in. She calls not back in, but she calls me in. This was the initial visit. And I'm like, I'm disheartened to see this happen to people.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, look, this is kind of a risk for us to like install this job. I don't know how they measured it, right? This product probably isn't, one of my preferred products, but I'll do it for you. And I gave her a price. I was like $3,000 more expensive than somebody else. And she was like, man, I already lost this money, and it's all about money now. And I'm like, yeah, I totally respect it. And then she didn't go with me, right? She calls me back like 2 months later, and she's like, Jonathan, I'm sorry, man. I need you to come to my house. So I go over there, and I mind you, this is like a 20 opening project, and she got it installed, and she's again leaks everywhere. And she's like, man, they're trying to pass inspection with an engineered letter. So that means you basically get an engineer, but you could get, a friend or whatever,
right,
signs off on it. You take it to the city, and the city could potentially just pass the inspection that way. And she, a flag went up. She's like, no way, you're not going to do that. You're going to call inspection the way it's supposed to be called. And the guy was like, no, I'm done. I'm out. So then now I had to charge her even more. So because I had to uninstall what was installed.
Oh my God.
No bucks were changed.
Really?
The caulking that was used was horrendous. The screws that were used were like, it was really bad. And again, it's just things to be aware of. I know budget's important, but man, sometimes it's going to be more costly in the long haul.
Right. And those are painful experiences that too many people go through. But also when you mentioned a couple of things, the caulking, the bucks, like first explain what a buck is. So that way everyone listening knows exactly what it is.
Definitely. I mean, bucks is, you don't see it because it's behind the window, hidden with the drywall and everything. But yeah, the old code, it was a very small buck if there was that before, but now you have to actually install a brand new buck, pressure treated. And that's just part of the installation to do it correctly.
And then next, one of the most important factors is the type of screw that's being used. What can you say to that? Like, window company can't just use drywall screws or something like that. I mean, and I'm sure you've probably seen that, but
you've seen it all.
What should the homeowner know as far as the type of screw? Because this is a question that they should probably ask an installation company.
I mean, just to keep it simple, I mean, it's a 1/4 inch thick, but we usually go with 3 1/4 inch long,
right,
and 3 3/4. So 3 1/4 we use for the bucks, and then 3 3/4 we go ahead and we use that for the actual windows. So that way we could actually penetrate through the buck into the concrete.
And then as far as the caulking, because that's what's sealing everything up, what should they know about that?
Man, that's part of our presentation with our customers, and we show them what cheap caulking is,
right, and
how that could be used for the exterior. And the inspectors they don't inspect that,
right?
And they don't.
Well, when it's first installed, I'm sure they can't really even tell.
That's part of it as well. So yeah, what we use is called quad, but at the end, I mean, it's a lot of details for a homeowner to try to like keep track of. But for the most part, our process, we take images of everything that we're doing,
right,
everything that we're using, how we waterproof the bottom. I mean, that's probably the most important part to waterproof. And again, those are the things that inspectors don't inspect, that they just really can't. Right. So is the company going to go through those measures to make sure that your windows and doors are installed properly?
Should a company also be responsible for finishing around the window to make sure it looks right once you leave? Like at what point, like where does the job start? Because, you know, obviously when you're taking windows out, there could be stucco damage, there could be paint, you know, what does that look like for people to know about?
Yeah, you'll find that often where they'll put, I've seen like quotes where say, you know, wood buck's not included, and then there'll be a change order.
Right.
Stucco's not included, and then there'll be a change order. You know, for us, we want to leave the project as complete as possible, which means paint ready. Flooring, we do a lot of things different because the new door installations, a lot of the times the door actually has to be installed a little bit more outwards when you're inside the home. And when you install a door more outwards, you might have a gap from the door frame to where your tile is or your flooring is. So we have different options that we offer so that it's not left like unfinished.
Right. Because that's frustrating. It's like they just paid all this money and they didn't know enough to realize that the bucks weren't included or any finishes were included, or have it all done and you have gaps between the molding on windows or, you know, drywall, you know, and then, then it's just left up to figure it out.
Yep. And same thing with like carpentry. Sometimes the doors require carpentry.
Right.
And we come and we finish it. Again, stories just keep popping in my head of homeowners calling in, and we've had to go in there and do the finish work, you know, for homeowners.
And when you're going through everything, like something that just keeps coming to mind over and over through all of these different stories, from how you started to what you're doing, what you do every single day, what you promise in jobs, whether someone's installing at this moment or if you're installing it in 6 months from now or whenever the project's ready, is consistency. You know, from the moment you stepped into the home show, there is nothing more consistent from what you've done. You've never missed it in 15 years. Every single installation, you have a specific protocol. Every single project is consistent. You're consistent with your care and your dedication. Your family business, you treat everybody like family. You don't want something done to an individual. You know, obviously businesses need to be profitable. So being the lowest doesn't mean it's a good business. You know, being a fair price and a value and knowing what you deliver, everything is consistent. You know, what can you say as far as, you know, what that means to you?
It's the value that we provide to the customer, right? It's that full-blown experience, the experience from the time you put the order, the communication throughout, to the moment that we actually start the installation. And then what I try to just be very clear with the customer, that to me is one of the most important things, is after the job is done. Right. I mean, I had a customer sign with me that I sold his windows 14 years ago, and he just bought a new house in Doral, and he's like, hey, you know, I want to just deal with Jonathan. And I'm like, all right. And I remember him. Right. His name is Marcel. He's a great guy. But being there for customers after the fact, we have a team that's to handle, because it's windows and doors, right? Your door might need an adjustment in the future. Who knows, right? But we have a team to take care of you after the fact. The last thing you want is, because it's going to be hard to find somebody to help you. Yeah. You know, if you go with a company that's not going to support you afterwards.
Absolutely. Because that's when the relationship really starts. You know, like going through the process and installing, that's a relationship. But after the fact is anything that could come up, knowing that you're going to be there, knowing that you're available, right? You know, things like that. But when people are sitting there, they're thinking, they're like, oh my God, you know, someone listening to this is like, is my house protected? You know, home protection, storm protection, security protection doesn't just start and end with windows. You know, what else should people be thinking about when it comes to being storm ready, being protected?
So, I mean, we could talk about roofs, but I just to kind of finish it off with the windows and doors. You know, one thing that we started offering is a maintenance program. Oh, wow. So, yeah, so we part of the program is we go once a year, we inspect the home again. We check that all the sealants are still intact, you know, because you could have the best sealant you want, but we're in this Florida weather, the sun and everything. So we want to make sure that's all still protected. We check inside. We clean we just did one yesterday. The sliding glass doors just full of debris and leaves, and clean it all up. So basically we left the windows, and like she sent me pictures yesterday. It's like cleaner saying, than oh my goodness, yeah, it's cleaner than you left. No, but straight up, she's like, well, like my windows look brand new again, right? And because we also, part of the process is that we're cleaning the windows in and out, so it feels like, so it's like you're getting something of value besides making sure that your windows and doors are ready for the storm. And
I'm even thinking about that because like when you bring that up, I've never heard another window and door company offering a maintenance program, because a lot of times they don't want to go back in and rediscover anything or whatever. They look at it as a problem, where you're looking at it as preventative, because I'm even thinking about like my own windows and doors, like, you know, the I don't know what it's called, but like that fuzz, like that, that goes on the bottom,
Definitely.
like it detaches, it comes out. You know, doors don't slide as easily. The doorknob is loose. What, like those little things
Exactly.
are that happens, and it gets worse over time. So being able to, that's an incredible offering that you guys have put together, because homeowners not thinking about it after the fact,
Right.
But maintenance when it comes to home is everything, because it's preventative, and if you stay on top of it, you'll never have a problem.
That's it. You know, and we're offering it to customers, homeowners that didn't even do the windows with us.
Right.
And we're getting a lot of that there, because they're kind of like, man, I feel like the job was a little sketchy. I'm not sure. So, I mean, for them, it's like worth it. Not only are they going to get a
That
maintenance
itself
from
is,
us, I'm
yeah.
going to basically check the work and fix whatever may need to get fixed.
That's incredible, because I mean, the fact that you'll go on a project that you didn't even touch is, I guess, unique in the sense of the industry, because, you know, as you mentioned, uninstalling somebody, getting into things, not knowing what's behind the walls,
For sure.
you know, but
You know,
that's an incredible service.
to us, man, it's always been about building long-lasting relationships. Like
Right.
the customer that I did 14 years ago. You know, we want to. Luckily, we've been blessed. We know it's like what you give, you get,
Yeah.
and 70% of our business is referrals.
Absolutely.
So if we can, you know, I'm like, okay, how do we, you know, take it, you know, how do we gain that? How do we continue to get that to work even better for us? And to me, I'm like, if we could build these relationships where we're visiting our customers once a year, you know, and taking care of them, who's going to come top of mind when the neighbors or the friends or the family ask, hey, you know, you anybody that does windows and roofs? And
Right.
you know, for sure, I know the best company.
Right. Well, it's funny you say that, because it's hard to forget about you, considering, you know, all of the different forms of marketing. You're on TV, you're in the home shows, you see your billboards all over the place. I mean, you guys are not hiding behind anything. You guys are the brand. You're building a brand. It's a family brand, and building longevity, which is, you know, that's what's amazing for someone like myself to be able to look inside as far as like what you started building from day one and where it is today, but most exciting as far as where you're going.
Definitely, man. I appreciate that for sure.
So getting into other forms of protection, because you guys do a lot more. You know, you're not just windows and doors. You know, you're protecting people's homes. You're a roofing contractor. You're a roofing company. You're offering products that I don't see people offering on a daily basis. You know, I mean, you guys specialize and you do a lot of metal roofs, but also like you have a metal product that looks like a barrel tile roof, and other types of products that you guys offer as well. But I want to talk about that, because roofing is the other main entry point of, or bad roof is the main entry point of winds and storms and things like that. So let's dive into that a little bit, in the sense of when you started offering this, and you know, where you guys are now.
Yeah. So 2019 is when I think I went backwards. I started offering solar.
Yeah, I remember that.
But when I learned about the solar, and I learned that a lot of these roofs are not built, or like not, they're too old, right? But they're not conditioned for solar. I'm like, man, we got to do roofs first, because how many roofs are not just in the right condition to even take solar? And then I'm like, we should probably focus on metal, because I mean, for starters, like the standing seam metal, which is, you know, the one that looks flat with the lines on it. Yep. You were able to put solar on that without penetrating a hole into your roof. So
that's probably people's biggest concern when they're getting solar, as far as drilling holes right into the roof.
Definitely. That's a concern for me.
Yeah.
So being able to, you know, offer brand new roofs and try to explain to the customer how, you know, metal is the way to go. Because it was, to me, it's like shingles,
right?
Shutters.
Yeah.
Metal roofs, impact windows. It's like a product that will last 40, 60 years and will stand whatever storm.
And a good question to ask, you know, the person offering it is, do you have a metal roof?
For sure.
You know,
right.
Like that means you believe in it, you know, because
do I have a metal roof in my house. I have another house that we own that has the metal tile roof.
Right. No, but that's the point. I mean, you install what you believe in. You know, if the person does, if they're pushing it and they're saying it's the best thing ever, that should probably be one of the hiring questions. Like, do you have a metal roof?
100%. I can't sell solar and not have solar in my house.
Right. Exactly. 100%, because you got to believe in it and know it. And that's, you know, what's so important, because when talking about metal roofs, because people see it, they don't see it as often, but it is a beautiful look. But is there anything, like, I'm sure people are concerned, like, what are their first questions as far as like what their concern points are, as far as why they shouldn't versus why they should?
Why they shouldn't
have a metal roof. when redoing a roof? Why not do regular tile, concrete tile, whatever it is?
Man, the biggest myths that I hear going out is is noisy with the rain, right? And it's like, man, if it was a metal hollow roof with nothing in between, plywood and an attic space.
If it was a soda can,
I get it, but no. And the other one is my internet is gonna get affected, and my internet in my house, and I'm like, man, I mean, there's solutions for that if that actually happens. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, without a doubt. And then as far as the different styles, we mentioned it briefly. You have the very contemporary look. I don't know the terminology for it. For the
standing seam,
and then the barrel tile, which shows that any type of home could have a metal roof. If you're looking at aesthetics and what needs to be installed, because there is architectural integrity, there's designs, there's historic elements that you have to have a certain look. So by offering those types of products, you're opening it up to even more people.
Definitely. I mean, standing seam metal roofs doesn't go well on all houses and all house types.
Right.
That's one. Second is, you have associations that just, they know, no, standing seam just completely takes away the look of the whole community. And that's where we've stepped in and we've showed them this alternative, and we've got it approved in a bunch of associations that they love it.
Yeah, no, and I'm sure insurance companies love it too.
They love it. I mean, think about tile, regular tile, right? You have to, for the most part, they get dirty fairly quickly. You have to pressure clean it. I would say if you're going to maintain it, or true maintenance on it is once or twice a year pressure cleaning.
Yeah, and I got a letter from my association last year that I had to clean my roof. I was like,
it's
like one of those things.
Well, were you lucky? Did you pressure clean it and no tiles break, or did you get some tiles break?
All of a sudden the guy said, "Oh, well, you have broken tiles. Now you got to pay to break your tile." I'm like, how many of those are really broken?
There you go.
There
you go. There you go. So it's, again, you might save some money going with a regular tile roof, but in the long haul, when you go with a metal tile roof like ours, you don't have to deal with this pressure cleaning. You don't have to deal with if it breaks. And honestly, we carry, like, these products are in stock for us where, what happens with these tile manufacturers is they discontinue it. Why do you think they discontinue their tile, Adam?
Because it's not working.
All right, that's a true honest man would say that, but a not so honest who knows the game would say, probably because they know that if a storm comes and the insurance has to come in, instead of saying, I have 10 pieces of tile to fix this, they say, oh no, it was discontinued.
You need a new roof.
It was discontinued, so now the insurance company is obligated to change the whole roof.
Yeah.
And guess who wins on that?
The tile guy.
Roofing, the tile manufacturer.
Absolutely. And that's everything. And I mean, geez, I'm just thinking about everything, like how the air conditioning, the HVAC industry just changed because they just changed what a system is. And if you need to replace your system, you need a whole new system now because of the whole Freon or whatever the mechanism that goes into it. But that's like job security. Industry security. Of course. You always have to discontinue things, come back with new things. So that way it's forced improvement versus just always having to fix. So, I mean, we've talked about a lot of different things from your story, which is beyond inspiring. I mean, you laid it out on the line, you sacrifice every personal component of life to get to where you are today. Family together through all different elements. People say, don't do business with your family like that. It's tough. It's a hard thought, like, because it can be great or it can destroy a family. It can destroy a business. Like, what's your take on that? Because you guys are 100% family forward. It's part of your marketing. It's part of who you are. It's part of, you at the home shows, you're obviously partners with your wife. You have your kids there. I've seen them since they were as little as, little, but, what does it mean to you to have a thriving family business?
It means everything to me, Adam. Honestly, from the beginning, I would get that type of advice, right? Like, hey, man, family and business, friends and business doesn't mix. Right. It ain't going to work. And I don't know, just something upon me was like, I'm going to go against the grain. I know that we can make this work. And I've been blessed with great friends. I mean, my friend from kindergarten, 5 years old, is, running Fort Myers for us.
That's amazing.
I have friends from elementary school, middle school, high school, baseball. I played baseball since I was 5, so a lot of people I played baseball with are in my team. So it's worked for us. I know that it's not easy, right? And as we continue to grow, and it becomes a little bit harder, but at the end, man, I wouldn't have it any other way.
No, it's amazing. And you mentioned team. Team is the most important component of any business, because you're only as good as the people next to you, and everybody being on that same mission, getting to that point, putting in their effort to be able to keep pushing beyond. And you mentioned Fort Myers. What does your coverage look like? If somebody's listening to this on the West Coast, if they're in Palm Beach, if they're in, the Keys, where are you guys covering?
So we opened up a showroom in Fort Myers, kind of the similar idea. So somebody from that area could come in and see the different manufacturers, and we did the same thing for West Palm Beach. So we cover the West Palm Beach area, the West Coast, Cape Coral, Naples. We do get quite a few jobs for Tampa and St. Pete, but that's mostly, we're not really advertising over there, but a lot of homeowners that we've done in the past have moved over there.
Right.
They call us, and, of course, I'm open to take care of them. Especially, we have a lot of installers that are in the Fort Myers area, and it's a 2-hour drive that they don't mind commuting to get the job done. Absolutely.
And the biggest thing is homeowners or contractors, they want to be comfortable with who they're hiring, who's going to be on their job, who's going to get it done right. And with that, with everything we've discussed, is there like a final piece of advice that you would really offer, somebody that's considering new windows and doors?
Just, I think you need to make a decision whether you want to you're concerned about having a great experience, a good experience, not just for yourself, but for your family, and somebody that you can rely on in the long haul. So definitely the interview process with who you're dealing with, seeing how they operate, seeing their operation, right? We love to bring our customers in, not only to show the windows and doors and the roofs, but to come upstairs and see how everything gets put to place, right? Because this is not a one-man show. To deliver excellence, like you said, there's no way I could do it on my own.
Right.
All those steps that take place, there's different departments, different members, team members that handle different aspects of the business, so that all of our customers could get that experience.
And if you're lucky, you might walk in on the right day where there's a conga line or a party or something like that.
Remember that? Remember
that? So short story, I walked into the ASP Superhome. We'll call it the world headquarters. And I walk upstairs and a full blown company party, conga line. They threw me right in there. They are there. They enjoy each other. They work together. It's like a family within the business. But from an outsider looking in, I feel like I'm a part of your family, seeing like how you guys run it and knowing you guys for as long as I have. But it's truly impressive. And I can't thank you enough for being a part of our story and what we're doing and where we're going and everything. But, we're only as good as the companies that are in our shows and the people that we rub elbows with and, work together with. So, I thank you for that.
You got it. It goes both ways, man. And yes, you definitely are family.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if somebody that's listening wants to reach out to you guys, get more familiar, what's the best way?
ASPSuperhome.com. You could also just Google us, Instagram, see everything that we're working on. My wife works on all of our social media, so she's constantly posting and staying active on what we're doing every single day.
Yep. And your social media handle is ASP Superhome.
Correct.
As well. And then if you want to follow Jonathan himself, the Impact Window Guy. It's Impact Window Guy.
Correct.
And Yesenia's
Hurricane Roof Girl.
Absolutely. So, follow them, get familiar with them, because, when you're following their social media, you'll see the projects that they're on every single day. You'll see that they're educating, they're showing you how-tos, because it's not necessarily every person, it's impossible. Every person isn't necessarily going with you, but you're setting the bar and you continue to set the bar and you raise the bar. And if every company aligned with what you're doing, we wouldn't hear the horror stories.
Definitely.
So, for everybody that's listening, I thank you for tuning in for today's episode. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about where you started that I didn't know before, and I applaud you for that and thankful for that. But, for everyone that doesn't know, we're Florida's premier destination for everything home design and home improvement. Visit the home design and remodeling shows. Come and say hello to Jonathan and his team at all of our shows in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Palm Beach. Go to our website at homeshows.com. Follow us at FL Home Shows. Subscribe to our channel to get all of the latest in home design and home improvement. But until next time, stay tuned for the next episode.